Okay, so I do really kind of want to quickly go over what's happened recently with Hank Green. If you guys didn't know, Hank got caught using AI for a lot of his scripting stuff. Rather, he got caught using AI for his research and the scripting stuff because somebody caught something in one of his videos that caused issues. Katini, thank you for resubscribing. I appreciate it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit disappointed, just a little bit. On the one hand, I know that he's not like ridiculously anti-AI because he's always seemed very reasonable in that regard in general. But it's also a little annoying knowing that one of the people who I tend to view as incredibly good at the research part of things was using AI for the research specifically. Like, the thing that he generally should have been pretty good at doing without the AI. So one of the Green brothers, yeah, Hank Green. Hank Green. And I've been noticing a bunch of people just kind of dragging him for using the AI. And, like, on the one hand, I get it. There's plenty of people who, for very good reasons, are completely against this technology existing and are going to drag anybody in general. Oh, yeah, you heard something about that? Yep. So while we're waiting for people to do their picks real quick, so trouble started with a clip from a recent episode of Ask Hank Anything uploaded on July 29th to YouTube. A science... Okay, I don't need all the extra shit. I know who he is. Green said he appreciates the pushback while discussing a disagreement from earlier in the video. Some viewers claimed the phrasing... I love Meteor Golem! Thank you, Alexia. I appreciate it. Some claimed the phrasing sounded like something generated by ChatGPT. As the clip spread, Green posted a tweet denying that the line was written by AI or even scripted at all. He said it was an ad-lib added during filming, but he acknowledged that his scripts had started to sound a little too much like AI output. So I think it's fair to say I was relying too much on generated notes. That's the thing I've been doing, and it's a bad habit at a time when I've overcommitted myself. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that he had spread himself too thin and was using AI to lessen the load. I'm going to be honest, I can't fault somebody for that. But at the same time, I also know that when he overcommits himself, he's doing it because he wants to, because in his own words, he's not in financial straits. So he's not having to like produce content at such a rate in order to like be sane functionally with his amount of money he has available. Whereas I would be maybe a little more forgiving for somebody if they felt like they had to produce enough content to like survive. Maybe that's a weird standard to have. But anyway, with the Hank Green thing, I'm torn. On the one hand, he basically took the criticism on the chin and said, you know what, thanks for the pushback, I'll do better. Which is kind of the most you could expect for most people. A lot of people would just be, especially people of a certain creator size, would just kind of be arrogant about it, and that doesn't seem to be what he's done. The video's deleted, but I think somebody might have the, somebody might actually have the video that I can look at. If anybody has the Hank Green apology thing floating around. In his Reddit comment, Green told fans he was mortified that he had let so many people down. He explained that he had been using AI to locate academic papers and other resources for learning about topics, and that the tool had given him access to research he might not have found otherwise, but he said the convenience came at a cost. I've been relying too heavily on AI as a search aid. It can be very useful for this task, giving me access to a lot of papers really fast, but I think it's been to a detriment of my work because it hasn't given me the freedom to find all my own ways in and around a topic. So this is actually one of the things that I don't hate the technology for, is just as a glorified search engine. But if it turns out that your use of the technology is actively changing how you approach things, then you need to stop fucking using it. Like, the time to stop using any habit-forming tech of any kind is the minute that your behaviors start to be comported around it. So I used AI to find a radio play I've been using for 30 years. That never, ever, ever outsource your brain. The thing is, though, it's not outsourcing your brain to say, hey, can you find this paper for me? In the same way that Googling something is not outsourcing your brain. Like, it's in how it's being used. Which is why the standard that I care about there is around the time that you start changing your habits based on what the technology is doing. Like, once your habits are changing because of the tech, that means that you've definitely gone a little too far with it. Said, can I use AI to tell me when I should take a nap? You can use it for whatever the fuck you want. Just don't let it control your life, and don't let it determine things for you. So, like, one of the most horrifying things I heard recently while I was at my local card shop is there was a guy who said that whenever he goes to buy any card, he uses AI to tell him whether or not he should. I think I want to vomit in my own mouth when I hear that. Pan says, in my current opinion, AI should be a tool, not a replacement for human creativity and stuff like that. I'm not counting the fact that Gen AI is stealing stuff. I'm talking in general. Right. Like, you have to figure out where the line is between something being genuinely evil. What aspect of AI is evil? Well, generative AI, because of how it sources its data, it sources it by stealing it, and that is immoral when we are stealing from little people and not Robin Hooding from big corps. And when it's actively changing behaviors like, you know, any other addictive substance, that's when I have issues. Steffi says, like, the only AI I see is good is stuff for, like, celebrity Yu-Gi-Oh! Matches because it's funny. Right, but at that point, that's still generative AI. So, like, at that point, your standard is, did I laugh at it? Which is kind of a weird standard. So Gen AI is the thing I have issue with, not the AI that is used for, like, game bots and tools and stuff. So, God, I fucking hate the term AI. Because the thing is that we're describing machine learning and a large language model, and we're using the same word for all of it, when these are not all the same thing. But it's been a concerted effort of corporations to make us not know the difference between those technologies. Said, if you're going to use AI, do something like generate a story for you or pictures. I think the threshold is use it for private entertainment. Putting it online draws attention away from people trying to sell stuff that is unethical. Those I agree with. I don't know. I'm torn on how disappointed I should be about the Hank Green thing. I kind of should have known that this was the case, but at the same time, like, I would be lying if I said that I've never used it as a glorified search engine. Like, I've been very open and honest about that. Suzu says, my problem with Gen AI is that it kind of sucks at nearly everything you can use it for. It's not very good as a learning tool because most of what you're getting out of it is learning how to fact-check Gen AI on specific things. I mean, yeah, we can criticize the tool for the thing, but a problem that we tend to have, and I've noticed this a lot in the, like, vehemently anti-AI crowd, is that you'll get people who say, well, it's not good at certain thing, and then they'll use that as part of their moral judgment about it. But like with any tool, if somebody knows how to prompt it in such a way that it gives them what they want, then they're going to get more use out of it than the average person. That it's funny and it's not stealing from Motivate, at least as far as I know. Did every celebrity who put their stuff there, did all of them agree to have their voices used for that? Because if they didn't agree for their likenesses to be used on that project, and the Gen AI is using their voices, that is in fact stealing. That's what that is. If you're a voice actor, your voice, your mannerisms, all of that stuff, like, that is part and parcel part of your trade. That is yours. You own that. And if somebody steals that with a large language model, they scrape that and build something for it. Dezora says, I'm literally saying that at its best, when it's used in the way you're describing, it's still not very good at it compared to pre-existing tools. Okay, cool. That is an opinion, and you are welcome to it. I will also say that, like with every technology that has ever been developed in the history of history, the statement X technology is bad at X thing is always a temporary statement. Pan the Neko says, I saw an argument about, hey, AI should be used to replace executive because it's paid a lot of money instead of the people working for them in the gaming sphere, and I want to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, so CEOs I do not view as people. Maybe that's a very bad perspective for me to have, but at a certain gross income, I don't actually care too much about certain people. Like, once you're the CEO of a major corporation, like, congratulations, you've almost won capitalism, but I'm no longer caring about you or your opinions. Definity says, the lawyer inside me wants to argue on some mixed bag issues with your voice likeness and stuff. I don't disagree with the moral reasoning, but at the same time, the way the current U.S. established, some people do not own their likenesses. Yeah, and the human in me would look at the lawyer in you and say, I don't care. I argue from a normative position, not from a legal position. I argue for the world that I want, not the world that currently exists. At least in this perspective. If it's a matter of survival, I'll swap my argument to the world that currently exists, because we have to survive in the world that currently exists. Stebby says, but the problem, I think, is we're getting close to the Matrix. How are we getting close to the Matrix? How are we getting close to people in vats being used to power machine? What? How is machine learning getting us there? That doesn't make any sense. The only way we're getting close to the Matrix is when there are more and more people you cannot distinguish reality from fiction. Then singularity, maybe. Matrix, no. But we're not even close to singularity. So, like, for us to hit singularity, AI needs to be sapient. Like, it needs to gain sapience. But I don't think large language scraping is close to sapience. I don't think that that's the case. The Gen AI is just not good at math fundamentally. Okay. Yeah, the technology is not good at all of the things that CEOs try to tell us that it's good at. Jessica says, I'm just worried that we're getting ever closer to Terminator type shit. How? Like, when we say Terminator type shit, are we talking Skynet? Because we're already at Skynet. Like, in the sense of, like, global surveillance, we're at Skynet. Apparently, Hank has decided that he's pausing all of his YouTube uploads for the time being. I don't know what the criteria for when he comes back is. Like, I wanted to give my opinion on the Hank Green thing, just to point out, like, hey, don't outsource your brain to AI. I understand there are certain things that it can do fairly well at, and if that's what you want to use it for, then cool. And using it to locate certain papers that he was struggling to find in general, sure. But I can also understand the community backlash, because it's impossible to divorce this technology from the damage that it causes. Axel says, I don't get why people are surprised at Hank using AI. He's been so remember that there's a difference between the statement Hank Green uses AI and Hank Green uses AI to generate his scripts in order to deliver the information to you, and he uses it for the research part of things, which means that if he is using the AI there and the AI hallucinates information, he might not be fact-checking that information. Now, it is Hank Green. I think that he's fact-checking that information. But you can see the difference between those situations. Because, like, anybody who goes onto their phone and says, okay, Google, after a certain update is using AI. Like, the criticism is not uses AI, period. Tizora says, semi-unrelated, but I'm kind of pissed that Gen AI has directly and indirectly made almost every search engine significantly worse. Oh, yeah, same. Dude, you know what fucking sucks, Tizor? The fact that instead of optimizing a search engine, optimizing, like, your search engine optimization shit for keywords, we have to optimize it for AI scraping. That's so fucking stupid. Like, I understand why we have to, because we don't get to control what YouTube and Google do, but still... Said also, Hank isn't a one-man operation. He has employees. He has people he pays. Surely research assistant is a reasonable person to hire. I mean, sure. But I think that he mostly uses it for the research stuff for his main channel, which is just him as the operation, isn't it? Like, maybe I'm wrong there, but I know that his personal income is he's comfortable. I don't know exactly what his personal income is. I don't know. Like, I can't criticize him in that regard because I don't know enough information to criticize him in that regard. And I'm not stupid enough to sit on a high horse and do that. It could be that it's a perfectly, like, good criticism for him. It could be. But I don't know. So, I'm not going to do this I am the clean washed soul, and here is the way that I will judge you from on high. I'm not going to do that. I will say, I hope that the backlash against Hank Green doesn't end up being a forever backlash. I'm hoping that when he gets back to stuff and he uses AI less, if not just like straight up stops using it, if people will recognize that as a good change. Or alternatively, if we're going to see the very annoying, ever-present, he made a mistake once, therefore we will judge him forever by this action and this action alone. I'm hoping that one doesn't happen. Haven't been really watching his vids due to unrelated reasons. Most of them can be summed up as squirrel with a capital squirrel, so I have no clue where his content's at, to be honest. I mean, generally speaking, his content's just good. Like, it's well-reasoned, well-informed content from my side of the political aisle. Like, that's where Hank Green's content is for me, usually. So I tend to really, really like it. Said you were supposed to shout the squirrel? Remember, you're fighting my ability to pay attention to chat well, while also playing Classic League, which is not easy. Okay, well, I successfully barely talked about the thing that I wanted to talk about with Hank Green, so I got a league match done in that time, I guess. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.